Okay, so we're about to dive into a story, but it's told from a perspective you've probably never heard before. See, our narrator isn't just one person. It's the collective soul of an entire engineering class. It's a spirit born from all their shared hopes and hardships, a spirit that remembers everything.
So this collective spirit, it first came to life in the summer of 1987. Now I want you to picture this. This is India before the internet. We're talking trunk calls, handwritten letters, the whole deal. And from every corner of the country, Punjab, Kerala, Gujarat, you name it, teenagers are showing up on this campus, most of them having never ever lived away from home. They came with these big dreams of becoming engineers, but the real education was just about to kick off.
And I mean that literally. Before they could even find their dorm rooms, they were hit with this shocking campus ritual. The second they step off the bus, they're grabbed by seniors for this month-long ordeal called ragging. It's a really intense form of hazing. So yeah, all those academic dreams, put on hold, immediately. And the whole thing starts with just pure absurdity. These new students, the freshers, they're just bombarded with these ridiculous, impossible questions. I mean, guess how many hairs are on your head? It was this bizarre, almost comical introduction to college life, really a test of patience more than anything.
But, behind all those silly questions, there was a much, much harsher reality. This wasn't just fun and games. We're talking physical and mental exhaustion, slaps, public humiliation, being locked in a senior's room for hours, forced to copy their notes. It was a genuine trial by fire that, for better or worse, started to mold them into a single, unified group.
So, after that first insane month, the ordeal was finally over. The students were let go, free to find their own dorm, which was Hall 3. And this is where their collective identity really started to take shape. Away from the seniors' watchful eyes, they could finally breathe and actually start to get to know one another.
In these pretty basic rooms and long corridors of Hall 3, a little version of India was born. You had kids from totally different cultures, speaking different languages, all thrown together. They were all away from home for the very first time, all a little bit vulnerable, and right there in that shared experience, they started to form friendships that would honestly last a lifetime.
And this really gets to the heart of what their experience was all about. On one hand, you have the dream, right? The tough classes, the complex calculations, becoming an engineer. But the day-to-day reality? It was all about survival and friendship, surviving the awful food in the mess hall, inventing gadgets just to get by, and of course, a ton of late-night mischief.
And speaking of ingenuity, this DIY water heater is the perfect example. The dorms had nothing, so they made stuff. This simple and, okay, let's be honest, incredibly dangerous contraption just shows you how resourceful you get when you have to be. This wasn't in any textbook, but believe me, it was a critical part of their real engineering education.
But life in the hostel wasn't all just pranks and clever inventions. The story here takes a pretty sobering turn. There was a moment that forced this group of fun-loving kids to face the harsh realities of life and, well, pretty much grow up overnight.
It's a big question, right? And the answer, in their case, it wasn't some lesson learned in a classroom. It was a tragedy, a single event that would leave a permanent scar on the memory of this entire batch. The unthinkable happened. A first-year student, a friend named Sunil, had failed 3 subjects and was facing the shame of having to repeat the whole year. And he took his own life. The shockwave of grief that went through that dorm, it was immense, and it changed them forever. This quote from Sunil's roommate Vivek it captures that feeling of loss and helplessness perfectly. This tragedy was the moment, as they put it, their boyishness went away altogether. The carefree fun was gone, replaced by this heavy, new understanding of how fragile life really is. It created a void that would never quite be filled.
So, as their 4 years finally came to an end, their own personal journey lined up perfectly with a massive turning point in their country's history. They weren't just graduating, they were stepping out onto a brand new stage for India.
I mean, the timing here is just extraordinary. The very year they graduated, 1991, was the exact same year India launched these huge economic reforms. The old state-controlled system was dismantled and the economy was opened up to the world. And this batch of new engineers found themselves, probably without even realizing it at first, right on the front lines of building this new globalized India.
But that future wasn't some golden ticket. Far from it. The anxiety was just palpable. Less than 20% of the entire class got a job through campus placements. For most of them, graduation meant stepping out into a world of total uncertainty, having to claw and fight for their place in this so-called new India.
And yet, Despite the uncertain futures, despite the fact that they'd all soon be scattered across the country and the world, the story doesn't end there. That collective spirit, that bond they had forged over 4 intense years, it turned out to be incredibly tough to break. Fast forward 25 years, they all came back together for a reunion. And the moment they did, it was like all those years just melted away. You had the same energy, the same warm hugs, the same camaraderie. Sure, they were older, they had careers and families, but their collective spirit was completely alive and well, like no time had passed at all.
And that brings us to this final thought from the narrator itself, the spirit of the batch. It's such a powerful idea, isn't it, that a shared experience full of both hardship and joy can create something that's bigger than any single person. It becomes an identity that literally lives on inside each of them, a permanent reminder of the hopes, the dreams, and the ambitions that brought them all together in the first place.